Oh my goodness, and just like that, we are off to the second law. I transferred my notes to a new journal because I was writing them down in my Slytherin journal, if you're keeping along at home, and I was writing on one side, but then I was doing my book, because right now I'm doing Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy as book number 17 of this noble quest of this university, and it was overlapping, so I had to extract the gold from our 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene into its own journal, which is actually really nice. Look at this. Look at the quality of that. We got 1 page of notes. You guys seem to like the last law, so I think it's gonna be good. And rather than water this time, I'm gonna turn you guys on to my, because right now I'm 4 weeks out from the end of my diet, and I don't know if you've ever had the liquid egg whites. Is it pasteurized, non-pasteurized? Yeah, pasteurized. So you can drink them, and you put sugar-free chocolate milk in it, sugar-free Hershey syrup. Sorry, so it tastes like chocolate milk. And so I just, here you go. It literally tastes like chocolate milk. For 49 grams of protein, 246 calories, can't beat it. So you're getting it all here by your professor, man. We're not only gonna, work this, we're gonna get you in the best shape of your life, because at the end of the day, that's what rat life is about. Anyone can escape. It starts with belief and the courage to pursue. We're all gonna make it. That is rat life. Here we go. So, the second law. So, to recap, without looking, the first law was what? Oh man, never outshine the master. That was the first law. Okay. Law number 2. 48 Laws of Power, Rat Life University lecture. Welcome to class. Sit the fuck down. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Now this is a very, very interesting one. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. The first thing that came to mind was this. And there's a perfect quote. And what I love the most about these books is, I was telling Ricardo about it today, or yesterday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. And I said, I love the history aspect of it, because that's my favorite thing, is learning for the sake of learning. And so while you get so much gold from all of his books, from the Laws of Power, The Art of Seduction, Strategies of War, Laws of Human Nature, and Mastery, you get so much enrichment from the historical parameter that he sets in his storytelling. He nests it in 3,000 years of historical literature and examples, which makes it come to life. It's awesome. I love it. And I can tell, you guys can tell that I love it too. All right, a quote from Voltaire, which I saw, I think it came up on my Instagram today, and it said, "Let me talk for 10 minutes and I can bed the Queen of France." And I just thought that was awesome. But so coming from the same guy, he says, "Lord, protect me from my friends. I can take care of my enemies." It ties in with the law, right? Never put too much trust in friends. I'll tell you the first story where I felt the sting of betrayal of friendship, and it was actually what caused me to get fired from from my first job. we're gonna be doing some confessions, but it's sponsored by chocolate milk egg whites. Here we go. Ah, that's so good. Okay, so I used to work in concessions at UCLA during my time as an undergrad. And what you would do at the end of the day, I was working at one of the coffee shops, you would throw the food away at the end of the day. And so what we would do is we would waste log it. And then what you would do is whatever you wanted, rather than throwing it away, you would sort of just keep it to yourself. So I really liked like the pizza bagels. I don't know if you ever had that. You could toast a pizza bagel, put cream cheese on it. Oh my God, this is so good. So one day I did that. I was waste logging food like everybody does, like my manager would do. He would come over and say, "Get me a bagel, bitch." And then he would have his chick on the cart that he was driving around, and then he would go. So everyone did it, right? It wasn't just me, but that doesn't make it right. I digress. But what I did was I filmed it on Snapchat and I said stealing food. And it was I was during my break, or maybe I was off shift that day. And it was for me and my friend. I took a Powerade also, and then I also took a frozen lemonade. Let's be honest, I stole a bunch of shit. But a friend who I posted it on Snapchat, and the only people who were privy to that story were my friends. Friends. You lepsy, you whore. I know who it was because they screenshotted it. And then next day I get a text from my boss, hey, you need to come into my office, we gotta talk. And then I was like, do I need to bring in my uniform? And she was like, why would you say something like that? And I said, it sounds like I'm getting fired. And I hated that job anyway. So I was already on my way out. I was already checked out mentally and I was focused on graduation. But that's a complete aside. But it ties in with never put too much trust in friends. The last person I had suspected to literally take a screenshot from my Snapchat story and go to my superior to then get me fired from that position was a friend. A snake in the motherfucking grass. And so that was a lesson learned. There's a really good quote by Andrew Tate. You either learn things the hard way or the hardest way. That was an easy way to learn in my youth. I think I was 20 at the time. That even your friends can have treachery, can have ulterior motives, can literally be that lurking snake in the fucking grass. So it's so important. One of the first books that we went over at this university by Jim Rohn, stand guard at the doorway of your mind and don't be naive like the younger Tarek was, your professor. Don't be the fool to think that your friends won't slither to warmer climes as soon as they get the chance to. Now, did this person want me booted so that they could get promoted? I don't know. I don't know what their treachery was about. Or if it was just, you know, they were in the club or they were friends with them. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But the point is, I learned that lesson that's just one example. And we'll have more, but never put too much trust in your fucking friends. Nice. Lord protect me from my friends. I can take care of my enemies. What caused me to say enough? Rock bottom, May 21st, 2023. Wow. We're getting real personal here. So I shared this in the first lecture of Rat Life University, and it was the day that I hit rock bottom. Chocolate milk, so good. You should get in on this. So they sell the Hershey syrup at Walmart, the sugar-free. You won't even know that it's egg whites that you're drinking. It literally tastes like chocolate milk. Okay. But that's a complete aside. I'm not sponsored by Kirkland. But yeah, I shared this in the very first lecture for semester 1, It Starts With Belief, right? And it's so cool if you think of your trajectory as a man on your hero story, right? Is building your character from the ground up. In order to do that, you have to hit rock bottom. It's actually a quote from Mike Tyson. He said, rock bottom is so beautiful, you have to hit it. Because until you hit rock bottom, you won't say, or you haven't said enough. So you're still tolerating garbage. You're still acting in a fucking idiotic way. You're still entertaining dumb fucks that should not be in your life. And that is exactly what I was and who I was and what I was surrounded by. I did not understand the sentiment, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I, during my rock bottom, was surrounded by friends who were drug addicts and alcoholics. And that was my entire world, my entire surroundings. As in every single friend, every single person who... See, my indulgence would be something like a psychedelic, something like mushrooms, something like ecstasy if I were to go to a festival, or MDMA, or something of the like. But my indulgence from months and months, if not years of delayed gratification to earn that indulgence was mixed in with people who that was their everyday. That was the huge issue. As in, my friends were fucking losers. And so that is something that, again, a lesson that I learned the very, very hard way when I hit my absolute rock bottom. And it's actually so beautiful because it was from a person named Ashley, who used to be my best friend. Like, we dated for a time. I remember I met her through Instagram and I slid into her DMs because she had beautiful scarlet red hair. And I just said, hey, I just want to let you know I love your hair. Okay, bye. Like, that was literally it. She ended up hiring me as her trainer, and I got her in the best shape of her life. Come to find out, she's in an abusive relationship. I coached her through that abusive relationship, physically and verbally, in manipulative abusive relationship. And then we became best friends, dated for about a month. Then I went off to Europe, came back, just platonic after that. And we were friends. She was affiliated with Rat Life for over a year. Cut to EDC, right? And I'm surrounded by fucking drug addicts and alcoholics, and I was living in a shithole that I explained in the first law of power, where there were cockroaches coming out of my sink, where I was living with other drug addicts and other alcoholics. I had a prostitute neighbor, fucking 3 a.m, she'd get a client, 30-second PR, and then he'd bounce. I'd be like, dude, what the fuck am I doing with my life right now? And I remember I had lost my phone at the set of Tiesto at EDC in Las Vegas, the festival. And so we texted her through a different chick's phone that my friend, super coward, super cuck that I was with, super fucking beta male, he was having a nicotine off. Like, this was the fucking level of loser that I was surrounded by. He was having a vape off with this random chick that we had met at the festival. Who could take more hits of nicotine from a fucking vape? These were the losers that I was surrounded by. I had lost my phone at the set of Tiesto because it was just packed like sardines. So it either slipped out of my pocket or it was pickpocketed. It doesn't matter, it's my fault, right? We text Ashley through this chick's phone, right? Tark's here, Chad is here, we're waiting for you right here, okay? And so she knows where I am, right? She has me wait there for like 3 fucking hours, right? Disrespect, disrespect, disrespect. She spoke to me with an even higher level of disrespect, disrespect, disrespect. And I couldn't fucking believe it. I was looking at the woman and I just said, how fucking short term is your memory? And I even wrote it down because it's a quote from the book, from the second law of power. They forget the favors they have received and imagine they have earned their success by their own merits. Dude, I was looking at the person who I taught financial literacy to. I was looking at the person who I got in the best shape of their life. I was looking at the person who was struggling with being an alcoholic and I was helping her through that. I was looking at the one who cried. I remember we were sitting in her car and she was fucking crying, dousing her tears as I was coaching her through her physically abusive relationship. And then to be friends and be affiliated with Rat Life and all the adventures and shit that we had done for over a year after that. And I said, the fucking short-term memory on someone. It literally blew my mind to the point where that was the day I said enough and I said, fuck this. And that's what it took. And I remember, and again, not to go on another tangent, but I got the vision for Rat Life. I shared this in a prior video, I'm pretty sure, when I was on MDMA in Berlin. And one of the big epiphanies that I had was that Ashley was the key for Rat Life, which is now the logo. Now, at the time I thought the epiphany or that insight was she was the key in the sense of being in a relationship, us together, or in a business relationship, her being affiliated with Rat Life. Not the case. She was the key for me to say enough. And that is the beauty that Mike Tyson talks about with hitting rock bottom. Dude, the day you say, fuck this, the day you say enough, that is the day. Jim Rohn articulates it perfectly. You can't get to the destination overnight, but you can change direction anytime, any day. That was the day I said enough. I said, I'm fucking done going down this path. I'm done being surrounded by drug addicts, prostitute neighbors, alcoholics. I said, I would rather live in my fucking car than being surrounded by this completely toxic and super shitty environment, which I know is affecting me, which I know is fucking with my mental health, which I know is messing with my income, my relationship status, everything. I said enough. And Jim Rohn says, dude, it's a beautiful day, the day that you say enough. But the problem is, most people, they're in that learned state of helplessness where the bad, the abuse, the garbage, it's lukewarm. It's not enough because you haven't done shit to change. And that is a very exposing and humbling question to ask yourself. Whenever you hear somebody bitch or you hear them moan, you have to let them know that all of that is a garbage facade. The fact is, you don't want it bad enough. Like, you're comfortable enough in your situation, because if you weren't, if it was really bad, then you would say enough and you would get the fuck out of there. You would get out of that relationship, you'd get out of that house of the people who you're living with, you'd quit that job, you'd get the fuck away from those people in a heartbeat. But it's not bad enough, because if it was, it would elicit action. But at the end of the day, it's just like putting that frog into boiling water. It would jump right the fuck out. But a lot of you guys, and I can speak for myself in my past, the water was just warm, and then you boil it over time, and then what happens? The frog fucking dies, right? And it's the same with you. You die on the inside. But the issue with that, and I don't want to lose my train of thought, is you think it's normal when all your surroundings are fucking losers. You think that's normal. You think that's the normal etiquette. You think that's the standard. When you're surrounded by sloth, when you're surrounded by neglect, when you're surrounded by the vaccinated and all these idiots and all these fucking losers and all these cowards and all these pussies, you think that's normal until you're around killers, until you're around professionals, until you're around people who stand guard at the doorway of their minds, right? Who aren't emotionally manipulated, who aren't manipulated by fear tactic, right? Until you get to that point, you think your surroundings is okay because you never had someone come into your life and say, get your fucking shit together, right? What the fuck are you doing? And because I'm such an agreeable person, because I've met so many people upon my travels where I'm so nice and I'm so loving, because I'm full of love and I see them through a lens of love. I love who I am when I travel. They've never given me the gift of candor to say, Tark, what the fuck are you doing? I remember I posted a video and I had the audacity to smile saying that I was living in my car, being homeless, and the comments, a couple of them that really fucking hit close to home, they were like, I mean, as long as you're happy. And I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? I wish I had somebody in my life, a sibling, a brother, anyone saying, dude, what the fuck are you doing? What, are you okay? What's wrong? You know? And so that is the gift to give other people, is it's not to coddle them. It's not to validate their bullshit story. It's to tell them, go fuck yourself, quit your pity party, get your shit together, and let's move forward. So it is so important to tie it all the way back. That was my rock bottom. Dude, I was taking the bus, I was drowning in debt, I was working a shit job, I was just surrounded by drug addicts, alcoholics, prostitutes, fucking losers that I deemed my friends. And I said, this isn't cute anymore. I said, I'm sick of being broke. I'm sick of being a fucking loser surrounded by losers. And so that was the day I was like, I'm getting my fucking shit together. I'm getting my life together. Fuck this. That is the beauty of rock bottom, because like Jordan Peterson articulates, progression is not linear. From there, progression is exponential. And he says that's why it doesn't matter how small the first step is, because then you'll make better plans and then you'll get better. You'll have a stronger belief that you're going in the right direction. You'll tap into more of your potential. You'll take more action. You'll get better results, which will re-solidify your belief that you're going in the right direction, that it's working. And it's an upward spiral that's not linear. It's exponential progression and growth, right? It comes from you cutting the weeds the fuck out of your garden, looking at your situation honestly for what it is. I'm surrounded by losers. I've become a loser. I'm going to take full ownership of my life, and that's okay. My past does not define me. My past does not have to equal my future if I don't allow it to, right? That is the mentality, the sentiment, the rhetoric that you can have, all right? But that was from a friend, and that's what it took for me to say enough. Next. Don't trust based on assumed gratitude. People, I'm telling you, dude, in terms of short-term memory, friends, family, they forget very quickly grace and things that you've given them and little niceties that you've done, acts of service that you've performed. People's short-term memory has always baffled my fucking mind. And people not having a sense of gratitude and appreciation for what is right in front of them, or a cognizance of how finite this life is. So particularly with friends, don't trust based on assumed gratitude, right? And it's really good habit to actually develop, is to not expect any gratitude from anything, you're doing the things that you're doing because it's corroborating your identity of who you say you are. I am a generous person. I do tithing. I do give lavishly, whether that's in gifts, whether that's in time, whether that's in specific praise and recognition to the people who I love, right? That is who I am as a person. And so I'm going to be consistent with who I say I am. So it's much more of an act for myself than it is for an expectation of return from other people. And I think Dale Carnegie says this, or Jim Rohn says it, but I think it's Dale Carnegie, that the more, it is Dale Carnegie from How to Win Friends and Influence People, the more praise and recognition that you give others, the less validation, recognition, approval that you need for yourself. Because that's the beauty about it. The more that you give, the more it fills you up, right? The more your self-esteem, self-image, self-respect, self-love. It's so cool. It's a double fill, if that's even a word. So the people who need the validation, if you find yourself in lack of something, just give it. If you're like, oh man, I want to, feel love, give love. If you want to, I need money, give money. I wish I got compliments, give compliments, right? Give first, and then you will receive. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Oh, this is coming later, guys. Don't you worry, huh? All right, moving on. Oh, that is a monster. So you see how we're breaking up the 48 laws of power. This is law number 2. That is a monster textbook. That's probably gonna take me a year to disseminate completely. This is a quote from the book. A man suddenly spared the guillotine is a grateful man indeed, and will go to the ends of the earth for the man who has pardoned him. And I thought that was such a cool sentiment. So this ties into learn how to use your enemies, right? And I want to share two stories. The first one, it's delicious. It's delicious. That is exactly the scene from The Count of Monte Cristo, if you guys have ever seen the movie or read the book, where Edmond Dantes is, before he's branded the name Zatara, Driftwood, after he escapes the prison of the Chateau d'If, right? He, Driftwood's up on the shore, and then he has a dagger fight with this other guy. He beats him, but he asks that his life be spared so that, he says, the men who wanted to see sport have seen it. The men who wanted mercy for Jacopo will get it, right? And with me and him, you'll have another skilled sailor. You can tell that I've seen the movie maybe more than one time, right? My freaking lips are so dry, that's why I keep licking them. But it's that exact same sentiment. And then he pulls him in and he says, I am your man for life. And then he pats him on the chest and he says, I know. A man suddenly spared the guillotine is a grateful man indeed, and will go to the ends of the earth for the man who pardoned him. It's the idea of saving face. I'll give you another good example, a good story. It comes from the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, which it's right here. Ricardo is reading it right now, or he's finished with it. This is going to be one of the next books. I still have to read a couple more before I get to that one. But the story is, I was sharing this with a coworker the other day. Theodore Roosevelt, he had, I believe it was a mechanic, service his airplane, and he made a mechanical error. And, Theodore Roosevelt almost, I can't promise you're not going to have, burpings from drinking this. He almost died. And rather than, reprimanding him, rather than firing the guy, rather than ripping him apart in a public setting, he allowed him to save face. And he said, because I trust that you're not going to make that mistake, and I trust it so much, I've requested personally for you to service my aircraft again. What do you think the odds were of that person making the same mistake when you held him to that kind of a lofty and noble standard, when you pardoned him, right? He will go to the ends of the earth for that man. That is how you earn the respect, undying love and loyalty from people who could have potentially been your enemy. It's a very, very good reflection. And I love this quote. So what Robert Greene does in his books, at least in this one, is he'll have his literature, his story, his book, and then he'll have little quotes, little stories, little fables accentuated all throughout the text. And I love it so much. One of them was a little blip it, little excerpt from Abraham Lincoln talking to a woman who was like, how are you praising the Confederates when you should be, and she used terrible language for them. And he said this, do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends? And I thought that was so good. So, and it's very, very true. And I shared in the last one, I'm not going to repeat it, the story where I won over my enemy by not tolerating disrespect when from that job working the graveyard shift at Amazon. The exact same sentiment. I destroyed my enemy by making him my friend. Without a worthy opponent, he explained, a man or group cannot grow stronger. So it's from the second law, learn how to use enemies. Without a worthy opponent, he explained, a man or group cannot grow stronger. And actually a quote from the Bible, it says, as iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens another man. I could be butchering it, but you know, iron sharpening iron. It's the same sentiment. Without a worthy, I was looking for the line, without a worthy opponent, he explained, a man or group cannot grow stronger. And I thought what the title of the last semester was, semester 2, which was Become Your Villain. So I love that I got that idea, and it's worth rehashing in this video here. So whenever you compete, right, the only way you get better is by playing against people who are better than you. But unless you're in that arena where you have an opponent who is better than you, there's nothing or anyone or no one who's forcing you to level up. Think of it this way, right? If you are the fastest runner in your high school, okay, and then there's no competition, right? You're top of the class. Then you go into college, right? Collegiate athleticism and sport, and you join that team, and then you're surrounded by killers, right? And then you get dead last, right? Competing against those people. But your time is faster. When I played tennis when I was in varsity in high school, weird flex. I mean, if you applied for the team, you made varsity. Essentially, there weren't that many people. It was a small high school, and it was a very small sport team. I could not get better playing against people who were not as good as me. But the people who were at a higher rank than me, who were better than me, they forced me to run faster. They forced me to return harder. They forced me to be sharper. They forced you to level the fuck up just to stay on the court. Do you understand? That's the importance of iron sharpening iron, of you having that competitive person for you to get better. When I played that video game World of Warcraft, I would only get better by playing against players who were better than me. I didn't get better by carrying the team. That didn't make me better, right? And in the real life, IRL, you only get better when you're put into those environments where you're surrounded by people who are better than you. That's why they say don't be the smartest person in the room. Surround yourself with killers. Now, here's the challenge. Say you go to the gym and you're surrounded by fucking sloth and people on their phones and people who aren't in it to win it. How then do you manipulate your environment, right? So that you have that iron, you have that villain character, you have that enemy who's making you work harder. The way that I do it is I'll listen to bodybuilding motivation of Olympians who are screaming, talking shit. Like there's a video of Tom Platz, who he's called the quad father in bodybuilding history, the best legs arguably in bodybuilding history. And this guy's doing a negative with a barbell, just the barbell of a curl, 45 pounds. And for that guy, that's nothing. And Tom Platz he's pulling as hard as he can, and he's just having him resist the negative down. You tear more muscle fibers in the negative, the eccentric portion of the contraction than you do the positive, right? He's pulling it down, and he's like, come on, 45 fucking pounds. When I hear that, and I hear Tom Platz calling me a pussy while I train, that is a stimulating environment. That is killers forcing me to work harder when I don't have it in my current surrounding. And so once you leave the sport of high school or the sport of college, or you're not competing in the video game sense, in the sport sense, in the fiscal sense, fiscal competitiveness, that's what, if back then people would go to war for, progression in terms of battle and conquest and going into the arena. Guys don't do that today who aren't in military branches. And so we compete with each other fiscally in today's modern world, right? But if you're not in that environment, then what do you have? That was the premise of last semester when I said become your villain. Your villain is you. It's you at your full potential. So this is you here, right? Your villain is the guy who goes up to every girl that he finds attractive, and he's not a pussy. He's not a cuck. He's not a coward. He has the courage to speak his truth every time. Your villain is the guy who always keeps his word, from the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. He's impeccable with his word always. What he says is his word is iron, right? Your villain is the guy who gets up early in the morning every fucking day, does not miss. Your villain is the guy who does not miss a training session, doesn't miss his content upload, doesn't skip a day of his purpose, of his mission, right? Doesn't skip a day of paying credit where it's due, giving somebody a smile, giving somebody a compliment, giving someone specific praise and recognition, picking up trash off the ground, whatever, right? Your villain is the person when you've closed the gap of who you are and the potential of who you can be. What's nice about that is that's you. That's who you could be, right? And so when you have that lens, if you go through your day with the cognizance of that, which I do, I always, when I'm cognizant of it, I'll check myself. Like if I'm feeling like making an excuse for myself, feeling sorry for myself, bitching or moaning, I'll say, I have said in the past, what would my villain do, right? Oh, my villain would go up to that person. My villain wouldn't hit snooze on the fucking alarm. My villain would, when every shower that I take, I always end it on the coldest setting, and there's no delay between what I say, what I tell my mind to do, and what is done. That is how you condition your body to be the servant to your mind. That's how you develop mind control. And then you develop confidence from a plethora, a stacked archive of keeping promises that you make to yourself. So that's who my villain is. And so the important sentiment of that for you to hopefully take away is, in terms of learn how to use your enemies, Patrick Bet-David, it's going to be in the university, choose your enemies wisely. Your enemy doesn't have to be another person. And this is something that Robert Greene, he doesn't touch much about in this book. Granted, it was written in like 1998, I think. Your villain can be you. My villain is me, right? I'm not concerned with anybody else. I don't give a fuck what anyone else is doing, right? I'm running my race. Do you understand? I'm not interested in anyone else's fucking timeline, right? I can support and I can love people, yes, but I'm not falling victim, like I have in the past, to the comparison trap, right? There's a beautiful video that I saw, and this guy is like, it's like a conversation with God, and he says, what's this over here? He's like, no. He said, God isn't in a rush. And this is the importance of tying it in with the last book that we read, which was The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, when they talk about getting aligned with God's rhythm and God's pace and God's time. God's time is this, right? That's his pace. It's not in a rush. It's not in a hurry. It's you enjoying and being present in the one fucking life that you have. When you're constantly concerned with everybody else's story, everybody else's race, you're not even fixated on your own. You can't even harbor gratitude for how far you've come on your own fucking journey. And so I don't do that, dude. I don't give a fuck what anyone else is doing, what anyone else is pursuing, what anyone else is. I don't live in a state of lack. Life isn't a zero-sum game. Someone else winning doesn't mean I'm losing. Someone else ahead by metric, they have this house, they have this wife, they have these kids. It doesn't mean I'm behind. Do you understand? Run your own race. So for me personally, I have a higher degree of preference that my villain is myself. It's not some other enemy that I have. I like to look outwards for inspiration. Do you understand? Not for envy and vengeance and revenge and any of that shit of like, just you wait and see, I'm gonna get you. No. That's fucking awesome. If he can do it, I can too. I like looking outward to corroborate belief. I'll give you a perfect story. I got it from Tony Robbins. Roger Bannister was the first person to run the sub 4-minute mile. That was the hardest because it had never been done. As soon as he did it, countless people were able to do it. And it's arguably, and not arguably, it's completely true. that it's much easier for the other people to do it because they have the solidified belief that they know it's possible. Huge fucking difference than achieving it the first time with it, as far as it was up until that point, deemed impossible, right? That takes a shitload of willpower comparatively to the person who knows it can be done. Do you understand? So when I try to draw inspiration from other people, I already know that it can be done, because anything somebody else can do, I can do. Because all you have to do is work out how they did it. You just have to, success leaves clues is a recurring theme that people who have been success, and if you study success, will tell you. So I love that idea, because whenever I've needed that motivation for myself, I would look at other people and I'd say, you're not smarter than me, you don't work harder than me, there's nothing you have learned or been taught that I can't learn, right? There's no amount of work you've done that I can't do, so therefore there's no amount of success that other people are living that I can't have. Do you understand? And then you distill it and simplify it down to, if they can do it, so can I. I can too. If he can make it, I can. So by that premise, anyone can escape. Anyone can make it. Do you understand? That's where I draw outwardly when I think of other people in terms of a competitive landscape. Otherwise, I just focus on myself. I focus internally. But to each their own. Personal preference. And something I would recommend for all my students enrolled in Rat Life University. Okay. We said that. Without a worthy opponent, he explained, a man or group cannot grow stronger. The importance of your villain. All right. This semester is called Office Hours. So, become your villain. That was semester 2. If you'd like to go back, you can watch those videos. All right. You are far better off with a declared opponent or two than not knowing where your real enemies are. It's so true. It's so true. You are far better off with a declared opponent or two than not knowing where your enemies are. Enemies lie. Your real enemies lie. Andrew Tate said in a good video, he said, the reason betrayal is the most heinous of crimes since the dawn of time in literature, the reason that Judas from the Bible is branded as the worst of the worst, is because you cannot guard or protect yourself from betrayal, because it's internally. Do you understand? You stand guard at the doorway of your mind, right? You know, the very first quote we started with, Lord, protect me from my friends, because I can take care of my enemies. Do you understand? But the betrayal, and why that is seen as such treachery, it's because you can't, or it's very hard to defend yourself against it. Because the people, and it's so important when we tie it back to what I said earlier of how I hit rock bottom, that is the importance of the reality that you curate in terms of your environment, in terms of your circle. Like, I can name with less than these fingers the amount of people who are in my garden, as in the people who I truly love, I truly care about. There's a good quote, love those who saw you when you were invisible to everyone else, right? Outside of less than these many people, it's just people who know me, or who knew me, or who are friends or acquaintances, or just they're strangers, man. But the people who check up on you, the people who say, hey, are you okay? The people who tell you verbally, hey, I love you, those are the people who you want surrounded by. And I've noticed in my youth, and I've noticed even up until quite recently, maybe a few months ago, that when I would have people in my garden who didn't offer that same level of effortlessness, who made me feel so effortless to love, who made me feel so comfortable in my own skin, who made me feel so confident being myself, and I was so trying to win their, love or approval or, whatever, I couldn't even harbor gratitude or appreciation for the people who fucking adored me. And so how shitty is that? That by you choosing to tolerate, not pruning the fucking weeds out of your garden in the form of friendships, in the form of shitty, negative family members, right? Because you're too much of a coward to tell them to go fuck off. It's super shitty to the people who are there who actually love you, who are actually trying to add to your life. Do you get it? So you're actually being very selfish to them, because You're not even harboring fucking gratitude for what's right in front of you, for the grass that's right here, for the acres of diamonds. You know, no pun from the book. When I point this way, is the books that we completed, Acres of Diamonds by Russell Conwell. You have acres of diamonds right here, but we're constantly looking for greener grass everywhere else. Do you understand? But if you cut the weeds out of your garden, if you have the courage to be alone, which, dude, that's what it's gonna take. When I don't post, when I'm not in the best shape, when I'm not traveling the world, how many notifications do you think I'm getting? Do you understand? Nobody gives a fuck about you in the grind. They only want to be around you in your winning season. A good quote, Jim Carrey said it. The funny thing is, when you're finally happy and content by yourself, all of a sudden that's when people want to, you know, be with you, be surrounded by you. You're your most attractive when you don't need anybody else, finally. And that's the big irony of life. When you need people the most, they're not there. They're not there when you need them the most. And then when you need them the least, that's when the support is the loudest. That's when you get the most congratulations, I believed in you the whole time. It's like, where the fuck were you when I needed you? Do you understand? But that's the beauty of your hero story, is by you choosing to continue to push forward, continue to persevere, continue to try. It's a quote from The Richest Man in Babylon, I believe. Either that or The Greatest Salesman in the World, but I'm pretty sure it's The Richest Man in Babylon, where it says, "Failure will never overtake me, for I will persist until I succeed." Until is the secret word. I'm gonna keep trying and trying again. I'm gonna have the courage to pursue until. That is the beauty of the masculine journey, dude. Your hero's journey for the young men enrolled in this university. It's the beauty of it, right? All right. So you are far better off with a declared opponent or two than not knowing where your real enemies lie. We went on the tangent, but we brought it back by just rereading that. All right, we're almost done. The man of power welcomes conflict, using enemies to enhance his reputation as a sure-footed fighter who can be relied upon in times of uncertainty. I just really like that quote, that's why I included it. But in the past, I remember when I would travel a lot and I would meet people who had very, very differing views from me. Because when you travel, you meet a lot of very, very liberal people. And while I'm very conservative in my values, I'm very liberal in spirit. However, when I would talk with people who are very liberal in values and liberal in spirit and just have no conservative values whatsoever, and they're very much of the victim. They're very much of the life happens to them. They're very much of the depression is not a choice, right? All of the things that I'm very hard against. I would talk to them and I would use all of their different lens as an opportunity to sharpen my rhetoric, to sharpen my articulation ability. And that's the beauty about learning how to use people who were once your enemies. And I would use it as kind of a challenge for myself to see, could I win this person over? Could I, destroy my enemy by making them a friend? And you find out, and I can speak, from personal experience, that particularly with women, if you can get them in a very vulnerable position to where they're just fucking honest, all of that bullshit goes out the window. This battery's dying, one second. I can give many examples, but just one that came to my mind is I was with this chick she was so hard bent on, she was suicidal, depression is not a choice, all this garbage. And when I finally got her to just be able to let go, I was like, I'm not your enemy. And then she was like this through tears that she was combating. She was like, I know. As in, the people who are the most afraid, the most insecure, because this is the issue. When you tell someone something like depression is a fucking choice, you're threatening their identity, right? Because if a person goes through their entire years saying depression's not a choice, it's out of my control, and you pose the idea that depression is a choice, by definition, they have to confront the truth that the state that they've been living in for the past 2 years was their fault. And that terrifies the fuck out of them. Not the state that they were in, not how shitty that they felt, the fact that the past years was their fault. And then, let me be fucking clear, not the event perhaps that induced the depression, choosing to relive that and be on that emotional loop over and over and over. Decision. The only thing you can control, this is from Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, is what you focus on, the meaning that you give things, and the action that you take. You focusing on life happening to you, you choosing to give it a shitty meaning, and you choosing not to take any fucking action, a choice, a choice, a choice. So to the victim, right, who says life happened to me, how fucking terrible is my situation, I'm gonna bitch and moan without the cognizance that there's someone out there dreaming to live out my worst fucking day, right? I would use those as opportunities to bridge that gap, to practice what I learned from How to Win Friends and Influence People, to destroy my enemies by making them my friends, to quote the law, to learn how to use my enemies by making me a better speaker, a better articulator, a better rhetoric, orator, right? But also a better man with a compassionate lens, understanding that we're not enemies, right? And I love this quote from How to Win Friends and Influence People. You'll find, let us meet over the miles or something with a hand clasp. I think we'll find our differences few and our agreements quite many. And I love that idea so much. At the end of the day, people, especially in this world that we live in where they want all of us fucking divided, you'll find that our differences are far and few fucking between, right? And we actually have a shitload of similarities if you have the courage and humility to look for them. Do you understand? Huge fucking difference, man. But that is another example of how you can use enemies. And I use the word enemies loosely. No one's your fucking enemy, man. You know? But if you choose to have shitty emotional capacity by saying this person's my enemy because they don't harbor my views, then you're fucking stupid, because you don't understand the concept that had you been born where they were born, with the same circle of influence, with the same friends, the same teachings, the same upbringings, not only would you believe what they believe, you'd be just as passionate in their position. But people don't have that development. They don't understand that you only believe the shit that you believe because of the series of circumstances, conditions, and events all the way up until your point currently in your life. All the videos that you watched, all the friends that you talked to, the teachers that you had, the heartbreaks that you've been through, that has molded your current mindset, development, mentality, belief system, identity. That takes courage and humility to say, you're not my fucking enemy just because you believe this. And I don't tolerate those people in my circle when I'm in my grind, but I love learning about it. I'm so intrigued when I travel, when I'm in my completely harmonious alignment of a state, where I'm completely aligned with who I am. I love myself so much when I'm abroad, outside of the grind, right? In alignment, which is who you are in the absence of fear, in the absence of the grind, in the absence of the, the hustle, and you can just fucking be. I'm so intrigued why and how a person thinks the way that they do, and I view them with such a lens of love, because it's genuine curiosity and genuine interest in everything about them. And people love people who are genuinely interested in them. That's why I elicit so much love from other people when I travel, and so little love from people when I'm here, because I don't give a fuck what anyone else is doing here when I'm in the grind. You understand? But that's just for me to share. But that whole idea, the man of power welcomes conflict, welcome people of opposing views. You become better, right, by not surrounding yourself with fucking yes men, right? That doesn't do you any favors by people who just be like, yeah, you're doing awesome, you're so cool, you're so great. No. Make me better, right? Call me out on bullshit. I wish I had that gift of a father figure, of some saying, what the fuck are you doing? Get your fucking shit together. Dude, you're better than this. You're a leader for other people. They look up to you. Quit acting like this. Like a fucking degenerate loser. Quit surrounding yourself with fucking losers. Come on, Tarek. I wish I had that gift. That's the importance of masculine role models and leadership. Do you understand? 2 more. Almost done. Here we go. The wise man profits more from his enemies than a fool from his friends. For that very reason. As in, a friend saying you're awesome, you're doing great, wow, you're so strong. No, that doesn't fucking help you. But you'll get the best feedback from critics. I remember I'd post a video, terrible forearms, super shitty calves, all this, and then the first, the lower level you, right? The one who has ego and the one who, all this, it's like, oh man, fuck that guy. But then you're just like, the higher level you, looking down on the situation, you're just like, oh, he's got a point. I see some imbalance. And so you get amazing feedback. You don't need to hire a consulting firm. This actually, I'm stealing this from Patrick Bet-David. You could just, hire some haters. And they'll be, dude, your best instant feedback. Do you know what I'm saying? Which, it's a gift. If you can remove your fucking ego and humble yourself, you'll understand that criticism and candor is a gift for you to consider, reflect on, receive. And if it's bullshit, then just dismiss it. Don't take it personally. The law from the 4 agreements: don't take things personally. Just take it for face value. It's not good, it's not bad. If you get a compliment, don't let it inflate your ego. But if you get a negative hate, criticism, don't let it deflate your ego. Stay neutral, stay fluid. But look at it. Have the courage to be open and honest with yourself and be like, I think he's right. Thanks. You know what I'm saying? And just move on. Move on with your fucking life. Smile, nod, and then just do what you were going to do anyway. But if it's a way that you can improve, then it's a gift. Do you understand? A gift. I'll give you a good example. We can tie it into dating. People find so much animosity and they generate so much spite from other people rejecting them. They don't understand the person's doing them such a favor, because once their insecurity and their ego subsides, I ask them and I say, would you rather that person have led you on for a fucking month or 2 or a year with zero interest of any emotional investment in you, and to sexually use you for their personal gratification? Would you rather have that? Well, no. So they're doing you a favor by not wasting your fucking time. You should be thanking them, not hating them. But again, what does that require? It requires fucking humility. All right? I love this university so much. I'm going to push those tenets, I wasn't trying to make a motion there, down your throat. Because that is how we're going to make men what they used to be. Let's make America great again. And by America, I mean the whole world. By instilling those values, those lost ideologies and virtues and principles and etiquettes that were once commonplace, right? Things like what I just fucking said, but I just lost my train of thought. Let me drink this and let's see if I can remember. Humility, man. Having some fucking humility. Last one. Working requires distance. Food for thought. I love that idea so much. So in my current position right now, where I work, I learned this actually from Ray Dalio in Principles, which is another book that's going to be in our university. And he said, a great leader, there's like a dog or something barking outside, or it could be a kid, I don't know. He needs to go in his cage. I think it's a dog. I think it's a dog relax. He says, a great leader can sit down with his direct report for an hour and then get 40 hours of output out of them. So I love that idea that working requires distance. When I would work with other people in the past who were affiliated friends or family, and I use friends loosely, with Rat Life, I wouldn't give them distance. I wouldn't give them space. I wouldn't give them room to innovate, to be creative, to take chances and to take risks. And I'd be way too close, way too in the vicinity of borderline micromanagement. And so I love that now, because in the workplace where I have some great leadership, my boss's boss, or she's my boss. She's, I have other leaders that I need to report to, but she's the GOAT, right? She actually wrote me a letter of recommendation for, I'm applying, putting this out there. I'm applying for a job that I'm going to be doing this weekend, I think tomorrow, in Laguna Beach, and it would be, oh my God, working 4 days a week, 4 10-hour shifts, so you get Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, which would give me so much time for the reading for the university. It would be such a gift, and all of the other, vacation, all those things. But also, it's in Laguna Beach, California. It would be my dream, and put me over the 6-figure mark. So put it out there if you want to pray for Tarek to, send that love that he's gonna get to that next level. And I've said this before in the university, but the coolest part about doing this quest is we get to document our achievements and wins by book. You know, by book 17, by book 20 or whatever, we were able to, you know, get a 6-figure job. By book 30, by book 40, we were able to quit our job, travel the world, escape the rat life. By book, and we were able to get our dream partner, our dream woman, our wife, future mother to my children by this book. The beauty about that is, while your journey, for you students who are enrolled, who are going on this noble quest with me at home, while you might not get the exact same results as I'm getting, you can still document your progression based on your personal development by you doing the actionables from the books, by you reading the literature that's in this university, by you focusing on becoming your villain, by you developing yourself, by you just being enrolled in this university, by you being in this environment, right, of nothing but support, growth, encouragement. And when I say support, support can be in the guise of somebody telling you to go fuck yourself in your excuses, to quit feeling sorry for yourself, to quit bitching and moaning and doing something about it. That's supportive. Do you understand? That's somebody who actually cares about you and who wants you to improve your situation in your life with no ulterior motive. You're not paying me, I'm not getting anything from you, right? That's love. Do you understand? Love is belief. Love is me planting the seed of belief in you that if I can do it, you can do it. If I can escape, you can escape. If I started this university fucking homeless, living in my car for those 93 days, drowning in debt, right? And I was able to do it, what the fuck is your excuse? What is stopping you? Do you understand? And so that's the beauty, to tie it all the way back with all of those stories, all of those parallels, all those anecdotes, such as the Roger Bannister story, that if you see someone else do it, it should corroborate, wow, if he can do it, so can I. Or it should plant that seed of possibility, that seed of belief can one day be planted. And then as soon as it takes root, as soon as you believe that, what was once a lie for yourself, then it's true. Book 1 of the university, as you think, so you are. And I think with that, that is the second law of power by Robert Greene. Let's see if I have it memorized. Don't put too much trust in your enemies. Never put too much trust in friends. Sorry. It's the egg white. It's my third one today. Finished. Learn how to use your enemies. And with that, that is Rat Life University's second law of power by Robert Greene. What is rat life? Anyone can escape. It starts with belief and the courage to pursue. Rat life, we are all gonna make it.